one of the mitzvos, the many mitzvos that we find in Parashas Kedoshim, is the mitzvah of lifnei iver lo sitei michshol. In front of a blind person, we are not allowed to place a stumbling block. So if you think of a blind person walking in the street trying to find their way, and if there is something that's placed right in front of them, naturally they don't see it, they're going to fall, and they're going to hurt themselves. So the Torah says, literally, when it comes to a blind person, you can't do something as egregious as placing something in front of them and causing them to fall. But figuratively, Rashi explains that it's not only a blind person in a physical sense, but a person who is blind when it comes to a specific issue. If we know something that would avoid this person hurting themselves, causing stress to themselves, being put in a difficult, precarious position, then we have to tell them we can't watch and see someone fall in a figurative sense. That's how Rashi explains it. Story is told about Rav Yitzchak Zev Soloveitchik was once approached by a very prestigious institution and was asked that they were trying to fill a given position, a very high position in their institution, and it was a very needed institution within the Jewish community, and they were asking about a specific person that Rav Yitzchak Zev knew. They were asking if they thought that that individual, if he thought that that individual would make a good fit for their institution to be the leader of their institution. So they come and ask him a question. They say, what does the Rav think about this individual and how he would fit in as running our institution? So Rav Yitzchak Zev responded. He said, I think he would be fantastic. I think he would be great at the position for your institution. He would strengthen your institution, and you would be all the more successful if he was leading your institution. So they decided the very next day, they went to this individual and they said that we'd like to offer you the position as being director or running our institution. So the man decided, he said, look, as many people do, thank you very much for the honor. I'm not going to respond right away. I want to take some time to think about it. And that day he goes to see Rav Yitzchak Zev Soloveitchik, who he knew, of course, and he asks him, he said, I was approached by this very prestigious institution to become the director of this place, and I wanted to know what the Rav's feeling was, knowing me personally, how I would fit in if this is something that I should do. So Rav Yitzchak Zev Soloveitchik answered this individual and said, look, taking this position is a prestigious position, but it'll have a serious impact on your personal life, on your family life, and I don't think it's the right thing for you as an individual to do. I don't think that you'll see bracha from it. So the individual goes back to the institution and he says to them, thank you very much. I have to tell you that I was flattered by your offer, but I went to Rav Yitzchak Zev Soloveitchik and he told me that he didn't think it would be good for me to accept the position. So now, after this person turns down the leaders of the institution, they're furious. They go back to Rav Yitzchak Zev Soloveitchik and they say to him, we don't understand. We asked you 2 days ago whether you thought this was a good fit. Have this person as the director of our institution. You said you thought it would be great for our institution. Then he goes back to the Rav, and the Rav says, no, it's not a good idea for him personally. So how could this be? We're dumbfounded. We're lost. We don't understand. So Rav Yitzchak Zev responded and said as follows: when you came to me to ask me advice, you asked whether this would be a good shidduch, whether it would be a good hire for the institution. I know the individual. The individual has incredible talents, and the answer was that it would be a great hire for the institution. The institution would be incredibly successful. But when the individual came to ask me, he didn't ask me as to whether it would be good for the institution. He asked me as to whether it would be good for him personally if he were to accept this position. And I had to be honest with him. How could I not be? If I felt that it was going to have an impact that would be a negative impact on his own personal life and his own family life, then I would be in violation of lifnei iver lo sitei michshol, placing a stumbling block before a blind person by not telling him how I really felt, by not telling him that I thought that it would hamper his ability to have a fruitful, productive personal life, and it would be difficult for him, even though it would be good for the institution. So, would you want me to violate lifnei iver? That's why I told him what I did. And this example of Rav Yitzchak Zev Soloveitchik is really a reminder for us that when it comes to times that we are asked advice about people, we're asked by people about a job or about a specific issue, advice, that we have to be very careful when we give people advice and make sure that we don't have any personal nitiyah, any personal a reason that we're telling them one thing or the other having to do with us, but we're giving them advice as to what's best for them based upon what we see. And that we don't hold back any information that would be detrimental to them or cause harm to them because, for whatever reason, we decided that we don't want to say. When people ask us advice, we have to be very upfront and very honest with them based upon what we know and based upon what we see, in order to ensure that that individual is protected and is not hurt by a stumbling block that is placed before them. Thank you for listening and have a good Shabbos.